Kuzuzampo, welcome to one of the seminars of the Global Peace Prayer Festival, the festival that is scheduled to happen from 4th November until 19th November. As a part of the festival, we have with us Dr. Niraj Kumar, who is the scholar and also the translator of Kalachakra Tantra. He is here to share with us the textual analysis of the Kalachakra Tantra. Welcome to Bhutan, Dr. Niraj, and I'm so happy to have you here. To begin with, Kalachakra Tantra declares in his very first verses that yoga of Kalachakra is for liberating the mankind during Kali Yuga. When do you think Kali Yuga commenced?
Tasit to you all and Kuju Jangpo, Bhutan. So I'm lucky to get this opportunity to be in Thimphu and talking about Kalachakra Tantra. As you all are aware that I'm engaged in translating and writing a new commentary over Kalachakra Tantra, and this is only the second commentary being written by an Indian after a gap of 1000 years, the last being Vimal Prabha. The very first verse of the Kalachakra Tantra that declares its intention. It says, Yogam Shri Kalachakre Kalyug Samye Mukti Hetu Naranang. That means this yoga of Kalachakra is meant for liberating mankind during Kali Yuga. But then the question is, what is Kali Yuga? And as you are aware, Kalachakra has many dimensions. It's a layered text. So there are so many different interpretations. So there is one cosmic Kali Yuga when everything dissolves, like all the planets, stars. So its period is 43,20,000 years as per the Kalachakra Tantra. That is the Mahayuga, and 1/10 of that, that is 4,32,000 years, is the Kali Yuga. But then there is another Kali Yuga. It is on the surface of Earth, terrestrial Kali Yuga. So its the duration is 21,600 years, as much as the breath that we take in a day. And here 54, it is divided into 4 equal parts of 5,400 years. So Kali Yuga is also 5,400 year in duration. But then when we go to the Kalki section, as you know, there is prophecy of the last Kalki coming to save the world from barbarian tendencies. So then we realize that we are already into the last phase of the Kali Yuga, and it is the time of the Lord Kalki. And I have discussed in my books also and several texts, because see, there have been there is a lineage of 25 Kalkis in Kalachakra Tantra, and the 11th Kalki was Aj Kalki. At that time, the epoch period of the Kalachakra was set, that was in 9th century. And then King Mahipal in the 11th century, he was the 16th Kalki. So that way, if you count from that period, then after 1950, the last Kalki should come. So when I was just working out, so as Kalachakra text is linked with the longer calendar of Jupiter cycle, that is called Samvatsar calendar. So that cycle started in 1987. So during this cycle itself coincides with the timing of the last Kalki, the Lord Kalki. So for me, based on understanding of Kalachakra, we are in the last stage of Kali Yuga.
In one of your talks, you explored the science of Kali Yuga. In fact, you linked increasing global pollution and images of cities covered with smoke as one of the signs of Kali Yuga. Can you please list other signs based on your interpretation of these king of Tantra?
This text itself mentions in the very first chapter on 26 sloka about the sign of the Kali Yuga, and it says when there will be loss of the Siddhanta, Siddhant Vinasang, that is philosophy, philosophizing, abstract thinking, and then there is, you know, everywhere you have this computation based on current system. So current is algorithm. So, when there is loss of uh, treatises and spread of algorithm, and then that is one of the signs of the Kali Yuga, which the text itself says. And we all are aware that once the IT revolution came in 1980s, and in 21st century, how we are basically in this age of algorithm. So, that has been predicted in this tantra. And then in the tantra, when there is the sixfold yoga. So, initially 10 signs arises when one practices the yoga. The first sign is smoke. So, and in tantra there is this principle of similitude, like similarity. So, if these signs arise to overcome the Kali Yuga, then even the sign of smoke arises that depicts the Kali Yuga. So, we know all over the world how the pollution has increased, cities are covered with thick smog. So, this pollution, the increasing pollution, that is also one of the signs of Kali Yuga. Apart from that, we know how many wars are already happening during our times, and there is also a rise of adharma, greed, consumer culture, narcissism, greed. So, these are the barbaric tendencies. Barbaric tendencies, it is not only linked with some race, but it is also linked with how how we are not following the path of dharma. So, all these signs combined, so that we are at the last stage of the Kali Yuga.
The Kalachakra Tantra expands the principle of body being the map for understanding all of reality. How has the Tantra linked body with the cosmos for the understanding of the audience? Can you briefly describe the contents of the full text?
Again, at the very beginning of the text, it mentions that Dehe Vishwamanang, the body itself is the measure of cosmos, or if you say the body is the map of cosmos. So, whatsoever is outside, say the constellations. So, these have been mapped inside body, it is at its throat. Then when we talk about the moon or sun, all these things have been mapped inside body. Finally, if you see, there is a chakraval system mentioned in the Kalachakra system. So, that chakraval has been mapped with different constituents of body, some kind of like our liver and heart, and all these have been mapped with the continents in the chakraval system. And then like our sweat, our blood, urine, everything is mapped with one of the oceans in the chakraval system. So, the chakraval system of the external world, that has been mapped, everything has been mapped within body in the constituents of body, and like skin, it is the wind circuit of the outer world, and the hairs over skin, that is the space element. So, see what is outside, that is inside. So, de madhye samastang, everything is contained within body.
Since we are discussing chapter by chapter to share what exactly are the contents of this chapter?
Yes, as you are aware that there are 5 chapters in the Kalachakra Tantra, and we are conducting 5 interviews, one each on each chapter. So, during this session of our interview, we are discussing only the first chapter, which is about the outer world, Lokhadhatu, Patal. So, here the contents are like initially the cosmology and the chakraval system has been discussed. Thereafter, the arising of alphabets, vowels, semi vowels, consonants. So, those have been discussed, and then their linkage with the elements of the outer world, that has been done. Thereafter, there is a long section on computing planetary positions based on again that algorithmic methods. Then there is one next section is on Swarodaya. So, this is predictive astrology based on arising of vowels. So, there are 5 primary vowels. The last section is Kalki section. So, there this whole concept of Sambala, and the first Kalki, and the prophecy about the last Kalki has been made. So, this is in fact in my first volume I have divided this first chapter into 4 sections.
In the first volume of your book, there is a very clear commentary on each stanza. You have explored the presence of pi in various dimensions of this chakraval system. Can you please enlighten on these important mathematical bases?
See, pi is the very essence of the structure of a circle, and we are aware that pi is the ratio of circumference to the diameter. So, Kalachakra is the wheel of time. So, wheel is a circle. So, naturally pi should be here everywhere, but the composer for them they consider pi not at the value of 3.14, but at the value of 3.125. So, almost approximate to the modern value, and they have put it as a ratio 25/8 or 100/32 if you see. So, this number we find ingrained in different sections of the Tantra. If we see the Chakraval system, then Meru, the ratio of the top, Meru is not cylindrical, it is something like a conical cylinder, but also conical, it is tapering cylinder. So, at surface the diameter is 16,000 yojan, and at the top is 50,000 yojan. If you see the ratio of 50,000 and 16,000, it again comes to 3.125, that is approximately pi. Then if you see the Jambu Dvipa around Meru, so the ratio of the outer boundary of Jambu, one of the section of the Jambu Dvipa, that is 25,000, and the radius of the Meru, that is 8,000, then again it comes to 25/8, that is pi, approximately pi. And there is a number for the Kalachakra deity. This is interesting text, because everything finally it comes down to mathematics. So, even Kalachakra deity has a number 1125, but if you convert it into year, that also become pi, because it is 3 years, 360 multiplied by 3, so it is 3 years 1080, and 3 years and 1/8, 3 plus 1/8, 8 years. So, that becomes again 3.125, so again is pi. So, this thing what I have observed that this ratio of circumference and the diameter, that is at the crux of this wheel of time. If we like we equate Kalachakra with the circumference, then diameter is the Vishwamata, the great universal mother. So, if in wheel of time there is dissipation of everything, everything decay, dissolves, disintegrates, then this diameter, so that can pierce the Madhyama, diameter is basically Madhyama also, the midline. So, that can pierce any system, the Vishwamata, and bring transmutation, by which one can stop, there is cessation of decay and death. So, and this is a non-dual union. So, just like circumference and diameter within a circle, so Kalachakra deity and Vishwamata, they are in non-dual union.
Several physicists like Max Tegmark has claimed that the nature of reality is mathematics. You have also mentioned that mathematics constitutes Jainist body. Can you please describe this part in little more detail?
Yes, this is a long debate going on in history of mankind. Several Greek philosophers, they argued that the nature of reality is mathematical. During our generation, Max Tegmark, he is a leading physicist, and he has been arguing that the basis of reality is mathematics. So, even he is trying to bring in behavioral psychology and all the things into his paradigm of a mathematical universe. So, what I have found from the text, because ultimately when the basis of the gnosis, Gyan Kaya, gnosis body, that becomes so abstract, it is only numbers. So, in the Kalachakra system, Ultimately, when we find a common universal algorithm for everything, and then that becomes mathematical, it is all enumerated. The underlying message of the Kalachakra is that the whole reality, in fact, it is mathematical. So, I agree with Max Tegmark, and I have found a lot of examples within this Tantra. Like if you see, even the concept of Kalki, that comes from mathematics. Okay. Concept of Vajvega, that comes from mathematics. Concept of Vishwamata, that comes from mathematics, because Vishwamata, like Kalachakra, has been given a number 1125, Vishwamata has a number 384. Again, that comes from mathematics, from movement of sun and moon, and computation of calendar. Vajvega has 26 arms. So, where from this 26 comes? It is also mathematical, because Vajvega represents the year where when you have extra month, intercalary months. So, then you have 13 months, that becomes 26 fortnight. Therefore, Vajvega had 26 like arms. So, Kalki, its number is 33. When you see the list of 8 Dharma kings and 25 Kalki kings, so its number is 33, but that comes again from the mathematics, because it is 33rd month which becomes intercalary month in the Kalachakra system. So, it is interesting that ultimately when you see Kalachakra, it is purely mathematics, purely mathematics.
Thank you, that is very interesting. The tenfold Vajra body has been described in the beginning of the text itself. Can you please kindly explain this tenfold structure?
Yes, in the beginning of the text itself, there is mention of the Vajrakaya. So, Vajra is not only lightning, Vajra is indestructible, Kaya is body. So, it is the finally the Tantra talks about attaining a Vajrakaya, an indestructible body which does not age, which does not where hairs do not wrinkle, grey, and skin does not wrinkle. But that Vajrakaya is also for the outer world, and that Vajrakaya is also for the linguistics. So, in the linguistic term, let me first put it there, and then we can make correspondence with the outer world. So, this is Ha, Aksha, Ma, La, Vara, Ya, and Ha is basically Nad, and Nad, this is the primordial cosmic echo. When sound is not differentiated into phonemes, then that is the stage of Nada. And Aksha, so Aksha is also it represents sun, but Aksha means dissolution also, and Aksha is combination of all the consonants from Ka to Sa as per Pratyahara methods. Then Ma is for Meru, Ma is also for Kamloka. So, if you see in one way, Ha is for Arup Loka, formless realm, and Aksha is for the Rup Loka, and Ma is for the Kamloka. Then La is the earth element, Va is the water element, Ra is the fire element, and Ya is the wind element. And above all the things, sun, the Visarga becomes sun, it is crescent shaped, and Anuswara, that becomes Bindu, this is a sphere shape, this is moon, and Rahu, that becomes like a wick, and this is blue in color. So, that is in also represent Nad. Interestingly here, because there has lot been confusion, many people put crescent at the moon, but in Kalachakra crescent is the sun. So, if you observe a total solar eclipse, you realize sun becomes crescent shaped because the moon enters the sun's image, the moon's image enters there, and Rahu is sitting atop the moon. So, this sun as crescent, moon as Bindu, and Rahu at the top. This also represents total solar eclipse. And why it is important in the Tantra? Because Rahu is not a planet which has a body, it is a desubstantiated empty form, it is just a shadow. but Rahu can digest both sun and the moon. So that shows the power of Sunyat in the Tantra. So finally that comes back to Buddhist philosophy, that the ultimate powerful thing is the emptiness, and this is what Rahu is. So in the Vajrakaya you have the Rahu at the top as a week.
The verse 26 to 27 of this chapter dates Buddha and also has mentioned the date of composition of this great Tantra, which contradicts the traditional accounts of the transmission of this Tantra from Shakya Muni Buddha to King Suchandra. Would you kindly describe in detail that why do you think this Tantra was composed in the 11th century and by whom?
This is a long debated question, where this Tantra was revealed by Shakya Muni Buddha, where is Dhanya Katak, because traditional account is that Shakya Muni Buddha during third turning of wheel, he revealed this Tantra to King Suchandra from Shambhala at Dhanya Katak. Now, many people during 1940 they identified Dhanya Katak with the Amravati, but if you see, this Tantra was not composed before 11th century. The Tantra itself mentioned about Baghdad at one place and Makkah at two places. Then Rahman, it is mentioning about Rahman at one place, religion of Rahman, it is in the second chapter. This Tantra is talking about Hijri calendar, so about the Malachand verse. So that means this Tantra came only after advent of Hijri calendar, which occurred in July 622 AD. If it is naming Baghdad, Baghdad was founded in 762 AD. By Caliph Al-Mansur. So that means this Tantra was composed after that. So that way I have devoted a long section in my first volume of the book showing that how this Tantra was composed during 11th century. But the date of composition is mentioned in the Tantra itself. So the 27th verse of this Tantra give us a number. This is Kha. This is Abdi Kha Agni, this number. This is Bhut Sankhya system. So Abdi is like number 4, and then Kha is a space 0 and Agni is 3 fire, it stands for number 3. So it is 403 years. So from 403 years after the Hijri calendar, the composition has started. This is written in the Tantra itself. So it was 622 AD when Hijri calendar came. You add 403, that becomes 1025 AD. But then the Tantra mentioned that this is the first year of Jupiter's Samvatsar cycle. Okay, this is the Prabhav year. So Prabhav year took place in 1027 rather than 1025. So I have fixed the dating of the Tantra, that was composed from 1027, and its composition occurred before death of King Mahipal, and King Mahipal departed in 1037, and thereafter the composer was Naropa. Naropa departed in 1040 AD. So from 1037 to 1040 AD, the commentary Vimal Prabha was written and Sekotesh Tika was written by Naropa, because Naropa is citing Vimal Prabha commentary in his Sekotesh Tika. Okay. So that means Vimal Prabha was written just after this Tantra was composed by one of his disciples, and then Naropa he left the world in 1040 AD.
The epoch point for Kalachakra calendar has been mentioned as 182 years after Islamic calendar. You have also mentioned that these Durvak point coincides with transmutation of Guru Padmasambhava into rainbow body. Will you kindly share your findings on this regard? As you know, Guru Padmasambhava is the patron saint of Bhutan, and he has also sanctified each and every corner of Bhutan, maybe be it in Paro or in Bumthang.
Yes, this question has perplexed me a lot for last 10 years, that why this year 806 AD was chosen as the Dhuvak epoch date for the Kalachakra current system of computing planetary longitudes. And what is this Dhruvat method? Like it's you observe certain at certain point of time the planetary positions, and in coming times others are not doing their observation, but based on your observation then they are computing the planetary position. So, for this Kalachakra Tantra, this Dhruvat point was kept at 806 AD, exact date which many astronomers have calculated, like Edward Henning and Yukio Ohashi, both have now passed away. So, that is 23rd March 806 AD. Now, something big must have happened in that moment, that was treated as the epoch period. And what was that? Then the Vimal Prabha commentary mentioned that Aj Kalki, so he did the planetary computations at this Dhruvat time in 806 AD. Many Western translators, they say Aj in Sanskrit means goat. So, this is the goat Kalki. No, Aj is also A plus Ja, something which is not born, unborn. So, Aj Kalki clearly indicates Guru Padmasambhav, because he was not born, he was found atop a lotus flower 8 year as an 8-year young boy, and 806 is a time when Guru Padmasambhav was very active. See, the Samya monastery, the first monastery built in Tibet, so that was constructed in 779 AD, from 775 to 779 AD. And thereafter Guru Padmasambhav came to Bhutan, to all these places and sanctified, including Tiger Nest, where we will be visiting for our next recordings. So, around 806 AD, Guru Padmasambhav, he did not die, because he was not born and he never died. He transmuted into a rainbow body. Many people say he transmuted at Maratika cave, and some talks about Yang Leso caves in Nepal. Many also mention that maybe it was at Paro Taksang, but at Paro Taksang he has like left his imprints, but he did not transform into a rainbow body. So, for me this Dhruvat point was chosen as a historic remembrance for Guru Padmasambhav, that great event of his transformation into rainbow body, and to show that the Vajradeha can be attained, and this can be transformed into body of light. Interestingly, Kalachakra, the realization in Kalachakra, that also comes down to realizing rainbow body in very lifetime. So, when we go through chapter by chapter, so in the 5th chapter we find that by even consuming some certain kind of processed mercury pills, pills based on processed mercury, so your body can become translucent and 5 colored rainbow lights will start emerging from your skin. So, those are the things already discussed in the Kalachakra Tantra. So, I think the disappearance of Guru Padmasambhav into rainbow body and that year, so that has become a marker as an epoch period for the Kalachakra Tantra.
Please summarize the astronomical system and methodology used in this Tantra for computation of longitudes of planets from Dhruvat.
From the Dhruvat point. Just as we have discussed, this is Kalachakra, when it talks about Kali Yuga, and it says there will be lots of astronomical treatises like Varami Hill's text and Surya Siddhant and these things. So, it itself formulates current kind of astronomy and computation. So, once they identify the Dhruvat point of 23rd March 806 AD. So, suppose we have to calculate planetary position as in 2025 on today on 7th of September 2025. Then one had to first count the number of years. So, after doing that number of years and the month, so that had to be converted into a civil count of days. So, Ahargan, and when you have the civil count of days, then you just multiply it with the mean motion of the planet, daily motion of the planets. So, once you get that figure, then you have to do two kinds of corrections. So, one correction is for finding heliocentric longitude, sun centric, and that is the manda correction, slow motion correction, and after that you do the fast correction. So, that is for 14 step correction, and that is for finding geocentric longitude. So, this system, the astronomical system is basically geocentric, it is not heliocentric. So, finally, we have to find out geocentric longitude, and second thing is here the sun is shown to be circling around its mean position in an elliptical orbit. So, that kind of model has been adopted in the astronomical section.
So, in 1820s, the Hungarian Tibetologist Cosmo D has mentioned or has started in the myth that Kalachakra Tantra was composed between 45 degree in north to 50 degree in north latitude. Then there is also founders like Theosophist, and then also later we also have mentioned that Gobi Desert in Siberia, and then very much later there were also a theory that it was composed in the Central Asia somewhere near river Oxus. However, you have mentioned in your book that the details of the text has clearly pointed to the South Asia. We would like to know more about these verses and the figures which has given to these indications.
This issue has been debated for quite long by Western scholars and even Tibetan scholarship who claim that this Tantra was composed somewhere in Central Asia. But the text itself gives the data which point out that clearly it was not composed there, but it was composed in South Asia. I am not saying India only, it may be some portion composed in Nepal, some portion in present day Bangladesh, but it was in South Asia. So, the verse 38 of this first chapter, that gives a number, that is Abdi Pran Agni Lipt. Now, interestingly, it is Bhut Sankhya number, Abdi is ocean number 4, so 4 prana and Agni number 3, and Lipta is 6 swasa makes 1 Lipta, and 60 Lipta makes 1 Nadi, and 60 Nadi makes 1 day. So, in a way 1 Nadi is equal to 24 minutes of our modern measurement. So, if you calculate 3 Lipta is 18 swas breath and 4 breath, so that comes to be 22 breath. So, each breath is of 4 seconds in Kalachakra, because in one day we are taking 21,600 breath. So, that means 88 breath it is mentioning, 88 seconds it is mentioning, that is 1 minute 28 seconds. This is the duration of diurnal duration of change of the length of daytime. Within 2 days this is the change. So, in 180 days during like one hemispheric pressure, the hemispheric passage. So, there will be change of the length of the day for about 4 hours 24 minutes. Okay. Now, again the verse 54 of this chapter only, it mentions about that during one hemispheric passage, that means of the sun, that means within 6 months. So, there is variation of 1/6 of 60 nadis in the duration of daytime, that means 10 nadi, that comes to again 4 hours. And then the verse 62, it mentions about Swasma Yugme, 3 lipta, Yug means couple, pair. So, 2 swasa and 3 lipta is 18 swasa, that becomes 22 breath. So, that also brings the variation in duration of day during 6 months from summer solstice to winter solstice to 4 hours. Now, you can see on which geographical locale this was measured. So, this points to Kashmir, okay, and then Bengal region, but it is not in Siberia or Central Asia or Tibet. So, that is clearly ruled out. Again, when we will be discussing about the 5th chapter. So, in 5th chapter, by citing the root Tantra, 48 sacred sites have been listed in this Tantra, and out of that almost around 30 sites that belong to the Bay of Bengal. So, if it was composed in Central Asia or Siberia, they would have given the detail of the places of those places. No. So, this text has been composed around Bay of Bengal in Kashmir, and Naropa was someone who lived in Kashmir, Ladakh, Nepal and Bengal. So, that also points to the composition of text by Naropa.
Further, this text is unique as it mentions in the flow of 10 elemental mandalas in the Mahayuga, and it also differentiates astronomical Kali Yuga and territorial Kali Yuga. Can you please share your insights on this?
This is again very interesting. See, when this text talks about flow of everything like in outer world, if you see everything is drifting apart, galaxies, planets, sun, everything is moving. So, it said there is pravah, celestial flow, and within biological world we have this flow of prana, because of which we are alive, and in the symbolic world, in the linguistics, in performing art, in paintings, in aesthetics, you have this flow of prabhav, impact, okay, aesthetic impact. So, and all these flow, it says that there are 10 mandalas, 5 mandala on the right side, 5 mandala on the left side. So, this tantra says that any system you can divide into 2 halves, anything. So, on the right half, the flow is in the dissolution phase, sanghar krama. So, it is from earth, water, fire, wind and space, and it is masculine. On the left side, because they have gendered it also, the flow is in the Srishti krama, generation phase, is from space onward to the earth. So, these are the 5 elements and 5 elements, so 10 elements. So, these 10 elements are flowing also in the prabha, celestial flow, in pramana and in the prabhava of the aesthetics realm. But interestingly, it says the 10 the mandalas are also flowing in the flow of time itself, in the Mahayuga. So, Satyug has 4 mandala, Treta Yuga has 3 mandalas, Dwapar Yuga has 2 mandala and Kali Yuga has only 1 mandala. So, that becomes 10 mandala. Then there are again 5 mandala is on one side, right side, and 5 mandala is on left side. So, it is like that. So, even the cosmic time, that is also impacted by this mandala. So, wheresoever there is flow, you have this arising of 10 mandalas. That I already told you, the astronomical this cosmic Kali Yuga is only one part out of 10. So, if the Mahayuga is 43,20,000 years, Kali Yuga is only 4,32,000 years. But on terrestrial, on the surface of earth, terrestrial Kali Yuga is 21,600 years of Mahayuga, and every yuga is equal. Kali Yuga is also 5,400, Dwapar is also 54, Treta also 54 and Satyug also 5,400.
Is there mention of precision of equinoxes in the text?
Precision of equinoxes, that like in Sanskrit astronomy, it will be mentioned at Ayan Chalan. So, I have not found that term, exact term Ayan Chalan here, but then there is one figure which is very interesting. What it does, that it sums up the orbital period, number of days in which a planet makes one complete revolution around sun. It sums up, and that number comes out to be 26,899 years, and the Tantra mentioned this is the mandala of the days. Okay, they themselves mention it here. Now, the precision of equinoxes that takes place modern calculation is around 26,000 years. So, in my view, this number which is coming here, it is only hinting at that precision of equinoxes, and this number is coming because they have assumed the 48 arc second per annum of the movement of the precision of equinoxes, but the modern calculation is at 50 arc. and because they fix everything into mathematical model. So, 48 is very important for them, because the half a circle is divided into 4 parts of 24 sections each. Then the half of the circle, this is 48. So, like I told you that every system can be divided into half, 2 halves, masculine and feminine of 48 each. So, this once you assume the movement at 48 arc second, then it comes to 26,899 years. So, this may be their assumption, therefore, that mandala of the day of this orbital period of the planets have been mentioned.
The whole text uses Bhutiya Sankhya numeral notation system. Can you please explain this with some examples?
Yes, this Bhut, if you see the ancient Indian astronomical texts from 6th century onwards, and I am seeing the texts even in 11th century, 12th century, 13th century. So, this Bhut Sankhya numeral system was quite popular. So, here like words denote numbers. So, say if someone says I, so I can be I also, but I can be number 2, because there are 2 I. Kar are arms, so there are 2 arms, but then it is also the number 2. So, like the verse 80 of this chapter of the Tantra, that gives a number Sal Ahi Satke. Sal is mountain, it stands for number 7, Ahi is Naga, it stands for number 8, and Satke number 6. So, it is basically you write 786, but then you have to read it in reverse. So, that is Bhut Sankhya, reading has to be done in reverse. This becomes 687. So, what is this 687? So, it is mentioning this is the orbital period of planet Mars, and modern calculation is exactly this 687. So, another number they are mentioning about the Jupiter, Dant Agni Vede. So, Dant is teeth, number 32, Agni is 3, and Ved there are 4 Vedas. So, it is 32, 3 and 4, but then you have to read it in reverse, it becomes 4332. So, this is the number orbital period of Jupiter. So, Jupiter takes 4,332 days for in one revolution, and again modern calculations show that Jupiter takes 4,332.59 days in one revolution. So, in a way the calculations were very accurate for each time.
Here 3 years and 3 fortnights has been frequently mentioned. So, why this number was so much emphasized in the text?
1125, I was mentioning also how this is also approximately pi years, that is a number for Kalachakra. So, where from this number comes? If you see the solar year, tropical solar year, its length is 365 and a quarter, 1/4 days. And if you see the lunar year, synodic lunar year based on the phase change of the moon, then it is 354 years. The gap between both, their deficit is 11 and a quarter. In 100 years, that deficit is of 1125 years. So, that is external, externally the difference between movement of sun and the moon, that is 1125 days. But internally also, whenever there is phase change of our breathing from right to left and left to right. So, in one day there is always 56 and a quarter breath in the Madhyama. So, in one day there are 12 phase changes. So, 675 breath flows in the Madhyama. In 100 years the human life, if you calculate, that also comes to 1125 days. So, in 100 years of a human life, the deficit between solar and lunar movement within body or in the external world, that is same number, is 1125 days. So, therefore, that becomes important, and you must be aware in Bhutan also and many places, when monks go in isolation retreat for 3 years and 3 fortnights. The origin of that concept of yoga has come from this Kalachakra number 1125.
The predictive astrology of arising of vowels is one of the long sections in this chapter. Can you please share some highlights on this?
See, detailed, people think Swarodaya is Shiv Swarodaya, which was popularized by by one saint from Varanasi, but the Kalachakra Swarodaya system is quite complex, and it has been followed in one of 13th century text Narpati Chaitya. It is predicting by following the arising of vowels, and there are 5 vowels o, e, ri, u and liri, and each vowel corresponds with one of the elements, or corresponds with the space element, e corresponds with the wind element, liri corresponds with the earth element. So, when you know like at what time which vowel is arising, it is based on the sunrise. So, one can know ki from this period to this period this vowel is arising, and you know the which lunar day it is, then you can predict about say victory in battles, or whether someone will survive any disease. So, these kind of things are there. I have elaborately dealt it in my first volume of the book.
There are 12 verses on constructing different kind of machines. You have also linked with one of the machines, casual machines of Pratyatya Samutpada. Can you please highlight on this?
The beauty of Kalachakra is not neglecting the hardcore sciences. So, at its time that must be metallurgy and machines and alchemy. So, this Tantra discusses about that also, all the empirical sciences. So, there are 12 verses on the machines in this Swarodaya section in the first chapter. So, I have linked it with the one of the causal chains of Nidanas of the Pratit Samutpat, and there are certain very interesting machines, like they have talked about how to construct a Vimana or the sprinkler machine, those kind of things is very interesting. And I just saw even Russian Academy of Military Sciences. So, they have one publication on these 12 verses on the machine sections of the Kalachakra Tantra.
Next question.
The last section of Kalki is very interesting, and here the last Kalki, which is the Rudra Kalki, has been prophesied to appear at the end of reign of 32 kings. Can you please discuss more about this prophecy?
Yes, it is in the last section of the first chapter, and as a traditional account goes that Adi Buddha taught this Tantra to Suchandra. Suchandra was the first Dharma king. So, there is lineage of 8 Dharma kings. The 8th was Yas, King Yasa, Manjushri Yas. But Manjushri Yas also became the first Kalki, and it is said that the Tantra which is available with us right now, that was abridged from the original Tantra by Manjushri Yas. So, from Manjushri Yas there will be 25 Kalkis, and after the end of 25 Kalkis, the 26th will be the last Kalki. So, many people have been claiming, I see in the Western literature that this will be the 25th. No, it will be after the end of the reign of 25th Kalki. So, this will be 26. Then that 26 adds with a 7 Dharma king, that become 33.
Okay, Shriji, this will be our last question. So, the last question is, do you think Bhutan is Shambhala of the prophecy?
Yeah, of course. See, what is Shambhala? Let us first understand. Shambhala is Shambho plus Alay. Shambho is peace, Alay is abode. So, it is abode of peace, which Bhutan is. And Shambhala is also a place where there is happiness. And it is Bhutan which took the initiative of bringing happiness into development, global development model. And now the new initiative of Bhutan for global peace, which is going to that global peace prayer festival in Nepal. So, that is showing that how Bhutan is not only pursuing happiness, but now it has started working on peace. So, if Shambhala had to these two qualities of being a peaceful and a happy place, so Bhutan is playing same role in contemporary world. But I think Bhutan now intends to make our planet itself as a global Shambhala, and I must compliment the Royal Government of Bhutan for this wonderful initiative, and I wish them all the success for this November festival. Thank you very much.